What you know about Mars, Jay? What you know about Mars? AKA the red planet, son.
2 moons.
2 moons.
Kind of moons. Weird moons.
Potatoes. Potato moons. What we do there? Yeah. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the Ancient Enigma Files. I'm Professor Augustus, a.k.a. Joseph. Introduce yourself, Slim.
I am Uncle Jay.
Of?
Uncle Jay's Urban Legends.
Scary stuff. Scary stuff. And again, Jay, I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers and all the helpful hints and tips we get along the way. Last year, they said, last week, I got more hits saying that I said it too fast. That's a real word. Too fast. Too fast. So,
too fast.
Said
what too fast?
Yeah. What I'm about to say it slower.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, even though you don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but that's what they tell me to do. So I like I like our channel helpers.
Right. Let's get it done up front.
Hit the subscribe button. Boom. Right. Anyway, enough of that. Get serious. You're always playing.
Yeah, me. You know me. I'm the guy.
You're always joking. So lately we've been doing cryptids, we've been doing end of the world stuff, we've been doing whatever. So Jay,
well, you know, we got to prepare for every probability.
Everything. Right? We're well read, son. We're well read. But tonight, you know what I said? You know what I want to do, man? I want to go into space. I want to talk about one of my favorite planets, right? Tonight we're going to talk about Mars, but more specifically, the 2 moons of Mars, right? So buckle in, get your drink, and let's get into it. Boom. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Boom. Woo-hoo! All right, so here we go. Tonight we're going to talk about an incident that happened. Jay, pull me up to date on this incident. The Phobos Incident is what this referred to.
Yeah, there was 2 uncrewed space missions. Man, you are not the only one having trouble talking tonight.
Stuttering, man.
Phobos program was a Russian uncrewed space mission consisting of 2 probes launched by the Soviet Union to study Mars and its moons. Ugh.
Oof.
Phobos and Deimos.
Phobos
1 was launched on 7 July 1988, and 2 was on 12 July 88.
All right. So hold that thought. You ever wonder why? So this was, follow me out here, guys.
Why about what?
I'm jumping into the deep end right away tonight, right? So supposedly Russia's been our enemy since 1945, the end of World War II, but yet we did joint space missions with them the whole entire time, and then to 1988.
But well, I mean, we still go over there and launch rockets from there.
Yeah,
a lot of the rockets that go put to the ISS right now are launched from Russia.
But they're our enemies.
Well, okay.
Hold on. It gets weirder. So hold that thought. It gets weirder.
Yeah.
I never really noticed, right, that NASA names all of its stuff after Greek gods and Greek demons and Greeks whatnot. And so then I heard a conspiracy theory, for lack of a better word. And I'm gonna ask if it actually plays into this podcast. That's the only reason why I'm diving into it right now.
I love me a good.
Have you ever heard about the 3 cities conspiracy?
The 3 cities conspiracy.
Right.
No.
I cannot say that. The entire planet is controlled by 3 cities, and these 3 cities are the remnants.
Remnants.
I'm from the South. Remnants. It's from the remnants. And we'll get them remnant noodles too.
Try real hard to drop that.
Remnants of.
Takes work.
Thank you, sir. The remnants of the Roman Empire, and that the 3 cities are Washington D.C., London, and the Vatican. And each of these cities are actually districts, right? Districts of Columbia. London is the same thing. The Vatican is its own same thing. And that the Vatican is the spiritual arm of the New World Order, London is the financial arm, basically, of the New World Order, where the banking takes place. And the United States of America is the military strength of it, forming the triangle, right? I used to poo-poo that. Theory, like it's dumb. That's just now you're just trying too hard. And then until I read like 3 days ago that the world's 3 largest obelisks are in Washington D.C., London, and evidently the Vatican somewhere in their little country over there.
There's the 3 largest ones.
The 3 largest ones. They're all over the place, man. You'll see them everywhere. Right? They're everywhere. But the 3 largest phallic symbols, the 3 dicks on the planet, right? Are
giant. And America has the biggest one. Biggest dick, right?
And so the biggest dick on the planet.
Why not?
Is in DC. And I thought to myself, okay. But then I realized that so then we've been cooperating frenemies with Russia, stirring up fear porn since 1945 while we do multi-billion-dollar space missions with them to trust them on that front. And they're all controlled by Freemasons. So
that is an interesting thing that you have raised right there, sir. Right. Because as I was doing research over the last couple of days on something somewhat related, Richard Nixon popped up, of all people.
Tricky dick.
And a quote from him I thought was very interesting. This was during the whole China, kind of the Kissinger era of improving our relations with China, right? And he said, about the Russians, he was saying, Russian people and American people can be friends, and they should be friends.
Right.
They have a lot in common. But the Russian government and the United States government will never be friends because we have different goals and different I can't remember morality. I don't know, but they're basically just different goals, right? And we saw that, dude. We've been to Russia. The people are the people, right? Like it isn't even about the people. It's about the government, right? So what it's in Russia's best interest to let us launch rockets or launch science experiments up into the space station.
Yeah. So if anybody that's watching this podcast and you've never been to Russia, Jay and I have been several times. We've been to Vladivostok twice, right? I have hung out with Russian dudes who could not speak a lick of English, right? Military trained guys. We're military trained guys. In their boot camp that they go through, they train to kill Yankees, right? When we go through it, right, we train to kill everybody. That's the difference between like the thing, right? We kill everybody, right? These dudes, I would hang out with these dudes right now, today, anywhere. They were the coolest guys we've ever met. They had the exact same they're underpaid, don't want to fight, don't want to be there, got no say in the matter, right? And I'll tell you what, man, out of all the places that we traveled and that we've been to a lot of places, man. That's right. If they didn't tell us to not get along, we would absolutely get along. They have the same exact values.
Right?
Yeah.
And you remember when we were there, these were dudes who were it was the late 90s, so things were bad in Russia. And I have just this picture in my head of a bunch of dudes in uniform kind of sitting on the submarine on the top of just like on the top of the submarine with the hatch up and just chilling because they didn't have anywhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
They hadn't gotten paid in months.
Nope. And
so they were just sitting there because where are you going to go?
Matter of fact, the currency at the time was still the ruble.
And it was not great.
And it was like that. A stack of paper like that got you a Dr. Pepper, right?
Yeah, fat stacks. It was rough.
And you know what?
And those roots were underappreciated,
And so you people watching, here's a funny story, and then I'll get back to this other one. Their nightclub was a barge that they ran aground.
Right.
And the only song they had to play, this is a true story, is I would like to buy the world a Coke. And they would play that over and over again, and they would just be out there just jamming to it. And I'm like, man, I see no...
Dude,
I started jamming to the Coca-Cola song, man.
People are people.
Yeah, that's it.
What happens is people get power, and then they stop being people.
Yeah. What happens
They
is
start
the satanic cult rises to the top,
Not
turns on
satanic
CERN,
cult.
starts praying, sacrificing, you know who what, and then they separate us. Anyways, back to the point. Right?
I think it's just simple psychology. Anyway,
That's it. So NASA wanted to go to. I'm sorry, the Russians wanted to go check out these
Russians
two moons,
launched the Phobos mission
Phobos
to the
missions,
moon,
right? And so, but
right?
before we get that, the Mars has the Mars two moons, Phobos and Deimos,
Yeah,
right?
Phobos and Deimos.
Were
Yeah,
discovered by a
they're the
guy
children
named
of.
yeah, were discovered by a guy named Asfa Hale in
Are you? Yeah, we're
1877.
gonna do that, huh?
What's his name?
Hold on.
It's
What is your
Asfa. It's
names?
Asfa, something like that, man. We don't name them like that anymore, son.
Hold on. Let me get there.
1877.
Yeah. All right. I'm working. I'm getting there.
His name is Aspa Hall.
Oh, I hold on.
Aspah. Type his name in. Aspah Hall. Aspa Hall.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
And so, anyways, we
We'll
don't
move
name
on.
them like that anymore, son. But again, we named them after two. Phobos and Deimos is actually named after some type of Greek something or
They
other.
are the children of. They are the children of Ares, who's the Greek god of war.
Right. So yeah.
Right.
So
Because Mars is the Roman god of war.
no occultism at all in America, y'all. None. Nothing to see here. Just move
I
on.
mean, dude, scientists are kooky people, right?
they're
Like,
devil worshippers.
especially since okay, so you know how it all got happened because some of the first astronomers that we read about were Greek,
Okay.
and so they named a lot of this stuff already because they were Greek. I know the
A
triad.
lot more. Anyways,
The triumvirate is it? That's what it is. The triumvirate. Yeah.
the Tri-Cities, the three cities that control the world.
About that or something.
Whatever it is, man. Like
I think Mike Myers might have something to say.
I had to turn it off, man. I was like, I can't go down this rabbit hole today. I got to focus on tonight, man. I can't deal with this, man. So anyways, man. So Phobos is a weird looking moon, man. It's actually to compare it to our moon, which is totally man made and hollow and perfectly spherical. Phobos is only 14 miles wide and is literally shaped like a potato. It looks like somebody took a potato gun, shot that bad boy into outer space. It literally looks like a potato, man.
And it's not that far up.
Yeah, it's only 14 miles away, man. Like,
yep.
It's less than a marathon away from the surface of Mars, right?
Well, wait a minute. 14? No,
It's
not
14 miles wide. I forget how
Yes.
it's like. So, and it's like
It's 5,000 miles away,
5,000 miles away. Yes.
which is really close in comparison to our moon, which is like 100,000.
Ours
more
is
than
200,000 miles away, and it's 2,000 miles wide. Right.
Yeah.
Fun fact about the aliens that parked our moon into our orbit is that our moon is the only moon in our galaxy that totally blocks out the sun during an eclipse. All the other moons don't do it. So wrap your mind around that.
that is really cool, interesting astronomical fact.
And we're actually pre-production the Hollow Moon podcast that when NASA slammed a probe into it, it rang like a bell for like 12 hours. Just saying. Anyways, on back to the show, y'all. Back to the show.
It really did, and that was dude. I'll talk about that all day.
Yeah.
The DART mission was fascinating. But anyway.
Right. So anyway, so they launched these two probes, right? They want to go. So now, Russia wants to check out these moons, right? So they pick Phobos because that's the one that's the most curious to them for several anomalies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they lost two missions, Phobos 1 and Phobos 2, right? So here comes fun fact, conspiracy theory number 1. NASA, which is so on top of everything and measures the poop of the astronauts as they're in outer space, right? Somehow during Phobos 1 managed to hit the wrong button and send the first probe away from the planet that it was supposed to go to, and it spiraled out of control, and then it went dark. Well, that's what they would have you believe what happened. Stick around, son. Stick around.
Yeah.
Right? So Phobos 2 was in the works. Russians don't give up. We won't quit. Won't do it. Knock that bad boy up. They shoot it up. Going to Mars, son. Red planet. It gets there. Gets where it's going. Starts sending back pictures, right? Really good pictures. Not only of Phobos, but of also the surface of Mars, right? In fact, I want to think the most famous picture ever taken from Mars was actually the Martian face. I actually think it came from the Phobos 2 mission. I'm not 100% sure on that because NASA lies all the time. But
But it wasn't it wasn't NASA, it was the Russians.
right, but NASA lies though. They're a bunch of liars.
So the Russians.
They're all liars. They're all that way. Anyways, so Phobos 2 was taking very good pictures of the Phobos 2 probe was taking very good pictures of the Phobos when something strange happened. It unexpectedly did start to spiral out of a very stable orbit or whatever it was lined up to do. But the whole time it was doing that, it was actually taking pictures and transferring the pictures back. And the last 5 pictures that it took were very, very, very disturbing before the probe blanked out. And so, when those pictures came back to the Russians, they refused to release those last 5 pictures for several years. But because this was a joint international, help me out, Jay, teamwork, I don't know, whatever it was, right?
It was an international mission.
We're all just getting along, right?
For science stuff, I mean, I think that's kind of the agreement, right?
We're all just getting along.
Treaties for that.
They released 1 of the 5, right? They classified the other 4, never released it. And the 1 picture that they released showed that Phobos probe was actually knocked out of orbit by I wrote this down here, a 15-mile spacecraft, right? And I'm actually going to put the shadow of that spacecraft right here through the power of editing in our show that we snatched, and we put it up there. And so now, I'd actually heard that before, right? And I actually said that it got knocked out of orbit. And I thought it was a lie. Whatever. No, it didn't. I used to think that we never actually went there, that it was total BS, and that, this was just, more lies. But then me and this cat right here, several episodes ago, we did a podcast about the Sumerian clay tablets and the Anunnaki. And in those Sumerian clay tablets, after the flood, the Anunnaki left the Earth and they actually went to Mars. It says that in the clay tablets. They set an outpost there when they left. And so then I did some more deep diving on this. And that right there, Jay, I don't know when this took place. I don't know how long ago it was. Is the number one theory about what happened to Phobos 2 was that 15-mile ship was actually an Anunnaki ship that knocked them out of orbit and crashed them into wherever they crashed. And the same ship was the one that knocked the first one out of orbit as well. And they don't ever release that information to it. And that got me thinking, and that got me digging. And then some more people were doing the same thinking and the same digging as I was. And they pulled up the photos that Phobos had been taking, and the probe was actually very, very, very similar to the layouts of the cities in ancient Egypt as well, especially when I think it was the 3 pyramids that line up exactly with Orion's belt, or there's definitely some star charts lined
abnormal features, right?
Yeah. And that's nice. That's a nice show, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
No. There's a huge obelisk there.
Oh, so yeah, right? So before we go into that, man, I got to catch my breath here. I got that down here. We'll talk about that, but that's not the weirdest thing that happened. Right?
I'm trying to look at these. I'm trying to look at these photos, right? Yeah. I'm trying to look at the final photos it took.
Yeah.
And the whole UFO shooting it down thing. That I see the shadow, right? Like the shadow is weird. I thought that is that the thing?
So that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying it was, is that so Phobos was actually so the Phobos that was actually taking the Phobos probe was actually in the process of taking a picture of the obelisk that Jay was just referring to. There is an obelisk on that moon that is 279 feet wide and 300 feet tall, right?
Yeah, it's big.
And it's shiny, right?
It's shiny.
And so that's that's what it was locking on to take pictures of, and it got pictures of it, and that's when it got knocked out of orbit, right? And so that right there by itself, if no other photos would have came back from this mission, that right there itself is enough to make anybody say, okay, that is 100% man-made. And so I like to give everybody tips about going into the wilderness and the jungles and stuff like that. Here's another pro tip that you will save your life. Nature doesn't do 90-degree angles. It likes everything, curves, roughages, or anything like that. So if you come across
things
something,
come in like this, like asteroid, asteroids or meteors, however you want to look at it, they don't typically come straight in. For whatever reason, right? Gravity, blah 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 blah, trajectory, all that stuff. They usually typically come in at an angle, right? So yeah, this thing skinning straight up and down is
this thing is basically the Washington Monuments. Is sticking out of this moon is what it looks like, and that doesn't occur naturally in nature, right? It just doesn't happen, right? In fact, when you're walking through the woods and you're trying to conceal yourself, if you're ever paintballing or you're fighting the United Nations, you want to really break up your color patterns and your stuff as well. No right angles.
You want to break up your silhouette so that you don't show up as a human.
Exactly. And another way to do it with your camouflage is that if you're going to use war paint, you want to lighten the dark areas under your eyes and darken the light areas of your face right here. So you want to go dark here, light here. I'm going with Deadpool all day. I'm rocking all day, son. That's how I'm fighting the apocalypse, man. With the Deadpool paint on the whole time.
All right, I'll make sure I put that in my facial recognition software.
And so not only did this probe catch a 300-foot. Basically 300 by 300 obelisk on the potato-shaped moon. It also took very, very strange pictures of what looked like subway tunnels running through the Earth on Mars as well as what looked like the remnants of cities, statues, a lot of right angles. Just a lot of, imagine if you blew a brick house up, a lot of bricks that were laying around that just wasn't naturally there, right? And so, this is very, very, very strange, and how that situation worked out, right?
That is a weird shaped body.
It is.
Like I'm looking at pictures of it. It truly like potato.
It is, and actually, Buzz Aldrin. Was it Buzz Aldrin? No, it was Neil Armstrong. Buzz Aldrin, right?
Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin was talking about this very same thing before he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs later in his life, and he was saying about this very, very strange obelisk up there as well, right? And
he did. He talked about it.
Yep, and so that's a pretty good. For copyright reasons, I can't pull it because it was on a Fox News station. But you can go on YouTube and and somebody else don't care about it. I don't want to put it up here with my stuff.
There's a lot of freely available photos on the internet.
But also, too, a lot of these scientists have said that Phobos would make a perfect laboratory based on how quickly it rotates around Mars, the size, how close it is to the planet. There's a lot of strange anomalies there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good positives there. It's tidally locked, I believe, so that it's always kind of pointed at the planet, and it's literally potato shaped and pointed. The point of the potato is at the planet. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it would be the perfect little spot to watch everything that's happening on Mars every 7 hours, man.
It whips around. That's crazy fast. Too. That thing must be flying, bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Every 7 hours, that bad boy does a lap.
Yeah, it's rolling.
But also, too, they think it's hollow. I'm not making this up, man. They think it's hollow. They think that it's actually got some kind of metal exterior based on the grooves that are in there. And I looked at the grooves, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty weird, man. It is pretty weird.
Yeah, it is. I think the one picture I saw said, it looks like the grooves are, because it's so close to the planet, right? Because it's so close to Mars as it's spinning around. Anything that hits Mars ejects rock up into the atmosphere, and it just hits it.
Picks it up.
It gets sandblasted every time it goes around.
Yeah. And so that right there to myself, if I hadn't have, hearing all this stuff individually, I was like, man, that's weird. But hearing it all compiled, and then after our research on the Watchers and our research on especially those clay tablets where they specifically say that they left after the flood and they went to Mars, I'm starting to believe there's some fiduciary going on here, Jay. And are you ready for a fun fact?
Yeah, hit me.
So there is a tablet in India, and it's not the Vedic. It's not the Vedic tablets in India, but there is a tablet in India that talks about a war that took place on Mars, and one of their gods. They have like 200. We know the main one's like Vishnu and whatever, but they have like 200 gods right over there. Well, they're not gods. They're definitely demons or extraterrestrials, right? So, for sure,
there's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah, but there's a story in there where one of their gods had a weapon, and there was a planet in our asteroid belt, right? Our asteroid belt used to be a planet, according to this Indian text, right? That planet went to war with Mars. Mars blew up that planet, but the surviving god from that planet had a weapon, and he shot that weapon at Mars and put that scar on the planet, right? Wiped their planet out, and then the survivors of the Martian survivors and him settled on Earth, and they continued their war. So I just thought that was a fun fact to go in there to play it on there. You can clearly see that scar that they have. I don't know how they could see it back in the day, but yeah. And
that's crazy. Like, I need to get real deep into that one day. Go deep in down that rabbit hole
to the Indian Vedics, man. Oh, bro, man, you're gonna lose your mind, dude.
Yeah, it's one of the areas that's I'm a little weak in, and I need to dive in there.
So they also have another legend that I happened to stumble across when I was actually doing research for our Naga podcast. They had a race in India depicted everywhere that looked like monkey men, basically, right?
Right.
And they tell a story of the king of the monkeys who dug a hole into the earth and came out in a new land. And if you go into South America, I think I want to say it's one of the middle countries, man, in South America. One of the smaller ones, Guatemala. I think it's Guatemala. They have the Indian monkey god over there. The same one they got in India, right? And I was like, okay.
Well, I mean, then there's the Chinese monkey god.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, right? Yeah.
Mr. Trickster, he pops up everywhere.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
It's interesting to me. I think so. One of my little pet theories is, as soon as we leave Earth, right? As soon as we start to venture out a little bit, we're going to find some pretty interesting things, right? I feel like as soon as we get to the next star, we're going to find either the remains of what put us here, because I really am starting with all of the stories and all of the stuff. I'm just starting to believe that we were put here, right? Like we weren't spontaneous, man.
Oh, I got something to make you stay awake tonight then.
Yeah.
Have you seen the latest pictures from the moon Titan?
No.
They've been blurred out on purpose. It's Earth. That bitch is blue and green, and they try to tell you that the rivers are made of like pneumonia.
Methane.
They're lying. They're lying.
Though, it's so far away from the sun.
Hold on. Hold on. I got you here, right? I got you here as well, because we're going to talk about that a little.
Okay, now wait. Let's talk about. Are we talking about Europa or are we talking about Titan? Because they're two different things, right?
No. So I'm talking about. I'm talking about sun's radiation, because it plays into this. Plays into what I'm talking about here, right? So we've been basically taught that you have to be in the Goldilocks zone, right? planet has to be perfectly. You get too close to the sun, it cooks you. You get too far out, you turn into an ice giant. We've been lied to, and I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why we've been lied to, right? Because out of my fun facts here, see guys, out of my fun fact sheets I got here, NASA was recently caught, and you can look this up as well. They got busted for photoshopping their pictures of Mars to on purpose make the atmosphere look red. Now the planet itself is red, but the atmosphere in it is actually bluish green, right? They want you to believe that the iron core, which I don't even know how they would know it was an iron core with no core samples, but whatever, let's play out their lies. They want you to believe that the core of Mars stopped spinning and the magnetic field died and solar winds blew the atmosphere away and basically this that's all lies, right? That's all lies.
Okay.
They've been forced to recently say first, if you remember this, within the past 5 years, they've said there's no water on Mars. Oh wait a minute, there's water on the caps.
Water on Mars.
Oh wait a minute, now there's water just below the surface. Bitch, that's water on Mars. All right, there's water everywhere up there, right? So stop saying so. So we caught you lying. The atmosphere is there, right? There is atmosphere there. Now, how much oxygen's in that thing is a different story, but the atmosphere is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Goldilocks zone is a lie. I don't think it's the sun's heat that provides warmth to a planet. I think it's the radiation trapped inside the atmosphere. So if the sun radiates all throughout our
I think it's a combination of both.
Galaxy, right?
Like they work together.
If it gets humid enough to rain, you got oxygen, right? Think about it, because you got the whole thing where the evaporation comes up.
Then there's a water cycle.
Exactly, you have a water cycle, right?
Uh-huh.
So I actually think they've known for a very, very, very long time, that there is an atmosphere there, that there was a civilization there in the past, that it does resemble a lot like Egypt, and it makes a lot of, we've talked about uncomfortable questions, right?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it brings up uncomfortable questions that can't be answered with religion.
And I think you're right. I think there's stuff, there are definitely 4 absolutely certain things that the United States government knows that they are not sharing with us. There is definitely, dude, and I am, you know me, I love conspiracy theories from the point of view of they're really fun, but most of them are bullshit, right? But I'll tell you what, I'm starting to believe that there are for certain entities keeping information from the general public,
and
right?
since I
Vatican being one of them, right?
Yeah.
Our government being another.
Oh, for sure.
Secrets, right?
All secret handshakes. Don't forget
it's coming to the time now though where all that stuff's going to come out.
I believe. And since I know you like facts, right? Since I know you like facts, right? Yeah. I actually pulled one out for you here, right? To prove our theory, right?
Okay.
The samples that they brought back from there have the exact same building blocks of life that you find on Earth. Every single one. Every single one. In fact, to the point where people have actually stepped up saying that, oh, if it had water on Mars, we could live there. Because it has the exact same to match our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they slipped up when they said that, right? Because they're saying that, oh, well, what we meant was that in a couple billion years, life could evolve there. No, bitch. Several years back, life was there and it got wiped out, and now it's here. And they just jumped over from one thing, right? And so that led me to my next little thing that I plugged down there. Elon Musk said something about, I don't know, when he doesn't really talk about it as much as he used to, right? But he used to be all about Mars, big time. Remember, we're going to go, right? And he was talking about what's the first things you want to do. Well, he said, well, I'm going to nuke the cores to heat it up in the water. And they got shut down. He says, well, actually, now that we found that water under there, what we're going to do is...
That's a horrifying terrifyingly bad idea,
Terrible.
dude, and it won't work.
It won't work. They actually know the exact tree that they need to plant on Mars to create oxygen, right? It's the exact tree. It's some type of freaking Georgia pine, believe it or not. It's a pine tree from your hood that would
Does not surprise me. That'll grow anywhere.
It's hard as hell to kill, right? So he's like, yeah, the first thing we would do is we would send about a couple 100,000 of these saplings up there and just plant them in the thing and just let it start growing, right? But I think actually the reason why he doesn't pump this dog that much anymore is because he's had some conversations with some people and some talks with some people, and they pretty much let him know that, hey, look, anything we send there is going to get knocked out of the sky. That's why he doesn't talk about it anymore. And that's why they fall back on the default. I cannot. Anytime you hear this, y'all, it's BS. We're 10 years away. We've been 10 years away from everything since I was born. 10 years away. In 10 years. In 10 years. In 10 years. So now we're saying in 10 years, Mars. No.
That's because people keep defunding the Large Hadron Collider.
I was going to send you the article. Since you want to bring Satan into the conversation. People are saying that bitch is haunted now. Go look it up. They're saying it's haunted. They're saying there's spirits down there now, right? So just letting you know, we'll do a podcast on that. But anyway,
sure.
Can you stay
Can
on
we
point?
Sponsor a trip? I'd love to go to Switzerland.
Okay. You can buy that. So anyways, that leads me down to the next thing I talk about here. It has something to do with Titan, right, as well. How I think Titan is actually an Earth-like facility as well. What you just said on there, man, I had an epiphany when I was driving around in the car this afternoon. I was just doing. I actually went to Sheetz, got myself a pregame. I got myself a strawberry Dr. Pepper and 2 Laffy Taffies, 1 cherry and 1 strawberry. Nothing but sugar in my diet, y'all. And as I was driving back, I thought to myself, and I even sent you this message on Discord, Jay. We're going to talk about 0 point energy, right?
Yeah.
And 0 point energy was first introduced to me when I was reading a little bit on Nikola Tesla. And I started reading on Nikola Tesla because I got into an argument with this dude that Nikola Tesla is actually the one that invented the radio, but they stole it from him. So looking for proof to win my argument, I came across this talk about him with 0 point energy. This was like 10 years ago. I had no idea what he was talking about, right? And until much later when he said that 0 point energy, in order for 0 point energy to be correct, your understanding of the universe and the galaxy is completely wrong. There's a word that was taken out I don't know when, called the ether, right? And basically the ether is just it's the electric universe theory, right? And Nikola Tesla postulated that, and I'm 100%, after what I tell you, I'm 100% convinced he was right and that we've been lied to, right? Nikola Tesla postulated that everything that you need on this earth, everything that a human being, God put you on this earth, everything that you need or ever need is on this earth. Everything can never made you sick. The counter-dose is here to heal you. You get bit by a snake, lamb's blood is actually antivenom. Back and forth, back and forth. It's there.
Right.
So Nikola Tesla was actually building this 0 point energy, which he had perfected based on his electric universe theory as well. And I forget who his financer was, figured out what he was doing. They shut it down, and then that's a whole podcast on itself, man. We need to do a Tesla podcast.
Yeah, bro. I mean the injustice.
J.P. Morgan, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, there was just so many, right? Yeah. Like Edison screwed him, and
so much
because he made the AC motor. Like he invented the AC motor. Yeah. Like every electric vehicle or any kind of moving thing, right? Basically, any electric motor you can go to Tesla. But like totally weird circumstances behind everything.
And so
but the dude loved pigeons. So I mean,
well, who? I'm saying, man,
like
tomato, man.
People that smart are
So, anyways,
not well adjusted.
If you take his zero, exactly. If you take his 0 point energy Inventions, combine it with the electric universe theory, combine it with the layouts of the pyramids in Egypt, as well as the layout of the pyramids that are on Mars, to harness the ley lines. It absolutely all falls together that those pyramids in Egypt, they are not burial chambers. They are power plants. They were fantastically built, perfectly aligned. And for people who don't know why they say they're power plants, it's because underneath those pyramids was water. And that water source would cause the pyramids to vibrate. The pyramid you see now is not what those pyramids were. Those pyramids were smooth.
Yeah, it had limestone on the outside.
And it had some type of crystal golden capstone at the top, right?
Yeah.
And what it would do is it would shoot energy into the atmosphere, and the obelisks that we built all around the planet would pull that energy out.
Back
down to the earth. And all you had to do to have electricity is be walking around. Tesla showed, and they can do it now, where you can hold a light bulb in your hand.
That was his Wardenclyffe thing, right?
Yeah.
Where he was building basically broadcast energy.
Yeah. You don't need a plug, right? And that's what's on Mars, right? And so when you roll it back in, because I know everybody's watched every one of our podcasts. You roll that back into the clay tablets theory, and it's absolutely the Anunnaki. They would do the exact same thing there. They would do the exact same thing there that they did here. They built those power plants.
What if it wasn't a power plant? What if it was a communications facility?
What if it was
communications
array? Well, in theory, it would be both, right? Because I'm not sure what it would take for quantum entanglement to take place, right? Where instantly communication cross. I know you're familiar with that.
So here's what we know, right? We can do that now.
Right.
We can entangle two photons.
Right.
And whatever happens to this photon over here, this one happens to this one over here, right?
Regardless of distance, enigmites, regardless of distance.
Exactly.
Right? Yep.
And so Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Right. And so it's been, nobody really quite understands how it works, right? Like it's one of those things, part of quantum theory, that's kind of like still like, we see it and we can measure it and we know it's there, but we don't understand it.
I can tell you why they don't get it too.
Why is that?
Because it's alive.
It's alive?
It's alive. We're connected. Okay. Everything's connected. Everything's connected. Scientists can only think that, okay, everything is inanimate. There's no greater source on everything, so everything has to have an action or opposite reaction. They can't figure out why a photon here and a photon on the moon on Titan, if I say, Jay, are you there? You could hear it say, yes, I'm right here, instantly. It's because they're connected. They're alive, right? And that's why those dum-dums at CERN, devil worshippers, cannot figure it out, right? So there you go. Please continue, sir.
No, but I do believe that, okay, so first of all, I love Tesla. I think... obviously, the man was beyond brilliant. Like I said, not well adjusted, but what else? None of them are. But I didn't really hear him connected too much with 0 point energy, and that's one of those things that I've done a lot of research on. He had the ether to him, like. I think his conceptualization of how like the universe works, right? Mm-hmm. He was describing the ether, right? And what we would describe the ether as is space-time, right? I think the two things, like you can stubbornly say that they're not the same thing, but they're the same thing, right? It's the background fabric that everything is kind of in.
Yeah, and they're gonna try to say, oh, it's dark matter. It's the same thing. All right, dark matter, space-time, ether. Go outside, nerds. Go on, get out of here. Go out and play. Get out, nerds. So yeah, go ahead.
So there is a certain, what they're finding right now is that there's a certain kind of space-time's like a fluid, right? It's like water, like a liquid type of thing, right? Not exactly, but it behaves somewhat like that, right? And so
No, I
when
mean,
you spin something in water,
no,
right?
it's even no. You're right, man. It's because they refer to it as in waves. When you bend
Hmm.
space, it's a wave, right? It's a wave, right? So yeah,
Yep.
you know, it's fluid,
Yeah,
fluid like.
everything is vibrating all the time. So there's constantly like, so that's what this is kind of where Tesla and I really agree, right? Everything's vibrating all the time,
Mhm.
everywhere. Nothing is ever stationary, right? Like what you think of as stationary is you're moving so fast that it's a matter of perception, right? Like we are literally on a ball of rock spinning around a giant fusion reactor, and a large enough rock could come and knock us out at any moment in time, right? Like this is all very precarious to begin with. Uh, so we have a general understanding of what's going on.
Right.
Uh, every day we get a little bit closer, but then we find some shit that we're like,
Yeah.
oh,
And so
right?
for you people watching at home, just imagine this. This is space or the ether. Here is Earth. Over here is Alpha Centauri, 20 bazillion quadrillion miles away.
Hmm.
If you want to, so how they, what they were talking about is how that it's a wave is if they want to fold the space, it would go like this, as a wave would go up, and they would just poke a hole in, and you would come out,
Yep.
and then the wave would stretch back out, instantly cross.
That's what they call a Rosen-Einstein bridge, or otherwise known as a wormhole.
Or in Tennessee, we call it folding up piece of paper, stick a pen through it, y'all. That's what we call it like that, right? Stick a pen through that, and you're there. You're at the Walmart in Earth. Now I'm going back to the
So
Walmart in Titan.
that would explain the sky scrolling apart like a scroll,
It's what's in the Bible,
right?
man.
Is a
The sky rolled back
wormhole.
like a scroll. That's all it is a space-time bridge opening up.
Wormhole.
So,
Yep.
and for you people, I did get this one. I get this a nice lady hit me up and was like, let me know kindly that I was borderline blasphemous on one of our conversations when I actually was like, I'm really not. Sometimes my humor goes that direction, but I'm really not. But in the Bible, when it says that when the sky rolls back like a scroll, that's a portal opening, right? And so
Yeah.
that's it. That's all it is. So God.
So whether you want to argue that they're coming from heaven or wherever they're coming
Well,
from,
here's where I
it's
offended.
describing them coming here from somewhere else.
Well, here's where I offended when I used the term extraterrestrial. So
Okay.
terrestrial. If God's not on our plane, He's in another dimension. So whatever that is what I was talking about. So
Right. It's
anyway,
a very broad term.
it's a broad
It
term.
means
So
not from Earth. They're not
that's
from
it.
Earth.
Not from Earth.
They're from heaven. If you
From
want
heaven.
to take it from that perspective, yeah, they're from heaven. So they're not from here.
Hallelujah. Right.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right?
So
Like,
check.
look, man, the word heaven could be a word for another freaking solar system for all we know. It's just about semantics and how you describe what's happening.
That's it. But anyways, so now I got something else for you, right? And I'm gonna. Here's where we're going to get dark.
Okay.
We're going to get dark.
Go get dark.
Every patent for zero-point energy has been snatched up and classified by the United States government, and every scientist who put that patent in is dead, y'all. So, nothing to see here. Move along, because I've said this before on this channel, and I'm about to say it again, that if they can't control it, they'll kill it. But in this case, they did both. They snatched them all up, and, well, these guys, the scientists that died, I mean, they were from natural causes. One guy locked himself in the trunk and shot himself 9 times. So
one guy got run over by a car, except it ran over him a couple times. Not just a couple times.
The other one hung himself and shot himself with a shotgun at the same time. So take skills.
There's some pretty wild and woolly stuff out there, man.
And this is the cherry, bro. This is the cherry. This is how I know it's real. Because if it wasn't real, they wouldn't care. Because I can go and make a patent right now on how to make a bubblegum shooter butt or whatever, man, and like how to create Smurfs, and it would be in there forever, right?
Right.
And so then it led me to my next phase that I got on here, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been on this kick ever since the eclipse. how we've been lied to, right? About every single thing that they've ever taught us. Everything that's ever taught us, man, is a complete lie. And I thought to myself, the reason why I said that today is because I had a conversation with a dude. This was on Instagram. One of the guys DM'd me, right? He's having a rough time. We were talking or whatever, and I was telling him, look, dude, if you think all there is to life is born, suffer, die, you're wrong, man.
You're missing it.
You're missing it, man. We live in a marvelous place, man. I'm telling you, and the wonders that we are, the history that we have, and everything. They lie to us so much that we're just now starting to scratch the surface. And I thought to myself today, Jay, why would they do that? And it came to me, man. It came to me why they would do that, right? Something or somebody's absolutely 100% hates everything about us. Everything. They hate every breath we take is an offense to them. Because they lie to us about they want us to think that hey, you're born, your life has no meaning, you're an accident, you just work, and you know what, work till you're 80, and then you'll get 2 good years of retirement, and then you'll spend the next 8 years on dialysis or going to the doctors or whatever, and then you'll finally die. That's the farthest from the truth, man. And I thought to myself, what do they have to gain on that, right? And it takes me back to my thing I've talked about. Like, we are wonderfully and fearfully made. Whatever it is that's messing with us, they're not allowed to outright hurt us, right? But they're allowed to, chirp a little bit, and they've realized that if we get out of their way, they'll do the job for us, right? And that's why everything that they tell us about space, energy, health, you're alone, you're nothing, you're not spiritual at all. There is no spirituality in your life. Vibrations, that's a lie. What is that? That's you're going to hold a crystal. It's all lies, right? And they do it because they want to destroy us because they're scared of us, right? But they can't mess with us. And it takes me back, man. What's the one thing that hates us more than anything ever, man? Satan, bro. Or if you're reading, we've talked about this. We did the Watchers. That's the biblical story of basically the clay tablets, right? There's either extraterrestrials out there who answer to God, who aren't allowed to mess with us, but they did anyways, and they got busted, or it was angels that came down, wasn't supposed to mess with us, they did anyways, and they got busted. Or
the story is the story.
The story is the story.
Like I said, it can be. You could name them, dude. I could call this an elephant.
Yeah.
Fidget is vaporizer, right? It doesn't matter. It's still the same freaking thing, right? You can call an angel a seraph. You can call it a demigod. You can call it whatever you want to call
Palladian.
it. It is not.
You call it Palladian, whatever, right? It's not us, right?
Whatever. It's not us.
Yeah.
And so that's the important part, right?
Yeah.
So historically speaking, right, when a higher advanced technology society brushes past with a lower advanced, technology society, it never really ends well for the lower advanced technology, right? So that being said, the fact that these sightings that we see of these unidentified non-terrestrial entities, right?
Right.
They're sneaky about it, right? So why, right? Why not just, if you've got that kind of power and you've got that kind of ability, right? Why even hide? Why even bother?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Like, and there's a list of possibilities and probable outcomes for there. But like, we don't know enough. And every day that we kind of move forward, we realize a little bit that We just don't know as much as we think we do.
Mm-mm.
But we're learning more. And I think what's changing right now is that people have much free. Dude, you know more in an hour of reading on the Wikipedia than your ancestors 100 years ago knew their whole entire lives.
Yeah.
Just the density of information, right? And so that density of information is now reaching everybody.
Yeah.
Like literally there are more cell phones or more mobile phones than toilets in Africa.
That's crazy.
Like let that just bubble in through your brain for a minute. And when you pick up this thing, right, you have the sum total of human knowledge at your fingertips.
Yeah.
That has never been possible. What year did that change?
Yeah. And the thing too is that I even add on to that too is that why not just smoke us, right? Why not? Why not?
Why not smoke?
Why not? Why tolerate us, right? Why not just lay us out? Something's not letting you lay us out, right?
It's got to be either not worth the effort,
Yeah.
or there's got to be some kind of repercussion that makes it very.
The juice ain't worth the squeeze, man. That's what I think it is right there, bro.
Exactly. So, however you slice it,
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
And so I was talking as well. I had some good conversations today. So if people that think that that you're not special, I totally disagree. We're incredibly special, and I'll tell you why. Because if we weren't special, they would have no interest in us, right? So people are like, oh, if you go down the whole hybrid, they want to hybridize us. Well, so obviously there's something good about us, right? Something that we want, right? And so, yeah, man, I still hold that 2024 is about to be just as lit as it can get, man. And that, like, I think that all the lies that we've been told. I mean, we've been lied so much, man.
There's a lot coming to light, man.
Yeah, and I'm thinking,
all the secrets are coming out. It's hard to keep secrets nowadays.
Yeah,
just in the general sense, even the ones you want to keep, like your password or your personal information, it's just everything's leaking out like a sieve.
And I don't think we're living. Matter of fact, I know we're not living like we're supposed to be living, right? And I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Let me. That's a broad stroke, but let me tell you specifically when it comes to our consumption, right? We are not meant to run on dinosaur blood, fossil fuels. That's not the answer. That's out of balance with nature. In fact, when I was doing my research on this, the human brain is so magnificent. There was a guy in India. Of course, he's dead and the patent's been classified. India has a huge pollution problem, right? Especially, I want to say, like, I don't know what parts of it is over there, but they have like a huge...
the Ganges River is pretty polluted, yeah.
So this guy actually created a filter that goes on to the vehicles over there. Have you heard about this? And that what it would do is that as the vehicle burned fuel, instead of releasing CO2, it released oxygen. And not only as it did that, as you drove it, it cleaned the air. So the air that was being pulled into the combustion was getting cleaned as well. So basically, it turned every car that was polluting would have been turned into a
filter.
And this dude would have been he probably would have been the first trillionaire on the planet, right? Because that would have went on every combustion cars. Again, he fell into a river and hit his head and died 2 days later, and the patent that he filed was just taken away, right? Just poofed, right?
There's at least 3 that I know of cases in America that have happened, right?
Just poof.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah. And that's the reason why is because I can't stand Bill Gates, right? I can't stand this dude. This dude is a turd, right? And I heard him say something the other day, man, that absolutely 100% proved to me that this guy is just a dork and a dumbass. They asked him at a conference about global warming, and I said, hey, why not just plant more trees? And you can look this up on the internet. He said, literally, he's like, can we be serious? I thought we were the science guys here. Planting trees is not going to do nothing. Yeah, what? Plant trees are natural CO2 eaters. It'll do a lot. And matter of fact, you can go on a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's but see, this is the same guy that said you'll never need, what was his famous quote? And this was the shit he was an expert on. You'll never need more than 604. I can never imagine
Anybody
a
needs 600
computer
more? Yeah.
needing more than 604K or 640K RAM.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Something
such
like
a
that.
dumbass, man. So like,
People say stupid shit all the time.
he reminds me of Kermit the Frog was actually Emperor Palpatine. That's what he would look like, right? That just really was. That's what I see when I say it, right? There's good videos, man. You can go on YouTube and watch, man. That I'm really, I don't know why I'm fascinated in like
I think we're suffering from a disease, man. I think right now, it's becoming very, very apparent what that disease is, right? Greed.
Oh, he's the worst, man.
I think we have allowed greed to become acceptable.
Well, I can point that out exactly when that happened, man.
That was a big step, right? In the 1980s, greed is good, right?
Yeah.
Was the mantra. And you know what, who is still in office? The same freaking people.
Yeah.
A lot of the same people are in office that were in office back then. A lot of the same people who were steering policy are still steering policy as they were back then.
And the only thing that gives me like the silver lining on that is that they're all circling the drain, dude. I don't see. Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it politely. I'm gonna say it politely, right? The only people that still buy any of this shit are the ones that are still wearing masks. Now I say that I lived in Japan for 9 years, right? And in Japan, when people
but that's a cultural thing. That is
when they weren't feeling well, they wouldn't want to be rude, so they'd wear masks. So yeah, so if you still want to wear a mask today, that doesn't bother me, right? But
that was a cultural thing but to be fair, man, that has been around.
Yeah,
in that culture
forever,
for like long ass time, right?
But when I'm at Walmart and you're
wearing the mask thing here,
yeah, they're the only ones that still believe CNN, man.
It depends, right?
No one else believes.
As someone who was during the pandemic, as someone who was immune compromised, right? It was a little scary, right? Mm-hmm. Especially knowing what I knew, right, at the time,
right?
That it really.
Shit, bro! I was washing my mail, dude. Sure they had me scared to death. They'll never get me again. You won't ever get me again, right?
Let's move away from that. Let's go back to what we were talking about to begin with.
But anyway, so
here's the thing. People in power need to stay in power. They have this feeling, this need to stay in power, and so the best way to stay in power is to control information
and to keep everybody
scared. Now that
they've
lost control of information, everybody's running scared.
Yep, exactly. And so that's
why you're seeing restrictions of Facebook and TikTok and all of these things coming out, because they don't want people to talk to each other.
And I think it's done. I think it's too late. You can't walk it back, right?
That's right. We all have to start talking to each other, and I think it's been really interesting to me to see people on TikTok actually corresponding, like as a community, and uniting. Kind of for specific purposes, right?
Yeah.
I think we need more of that.
Like, I don't know how they would ever be able to lock the planet down again. I don't know how. I don't know how they would be able to do it, right?
I think that.
Well, I take that back. There's one thing they could do.
Good. I think the intention was good. I think that we did not meet the challenge scientifically. They were using bad data to try to figure something out that they had never seen before, and they just didn't understand.
I don't know. I heard a pretty good quote today, man.
What's that?
I don't want to
butcher it.
Somebody said that they spent more energy blocking this ivermectin than they did. That's actually a pretty good quote, man.
Yeah, the ivermectin. They spent more energy blocking the ivermectin than they did on whatever else.
Yeah, something else, right? And I was like, oh, damn, that's actually a pretty good point, right?
But see, here's the thing, though. That stuff is gonna hurt you. That's not what it's for, man.
Either way.
But look, here's the thing, okay? And let me qualify that for a minute. I am a very strong believer in self-determination, right? Being able to make a decision for yourself if it has no effect on anyone else. So if you want to shoot yourself full of ivermectin and you can get a hold of it, Be my guest.
Oh,
Right?
what
You think
that's what it is.
work?
They said they spent more energy blocking ivermectin than they did fentanyl.
Well, that's probably true
Yeah.
because fentanyl
Yeah.
is there for a different reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Fentanyl is there to keep everybody calm.
So the thing with this, man, is that I actually think that we've crossed the Rubicon, and that there's no turning back, and all this information is coming to the forefront now, and I think that it's just only a matter of time before they have to do something like fake alien invasion or something like that, right? To do
Some kind of false flag, right, to distract everybody.
something, right? Something, but even then, I don't think that'll work anymore, man. I just don't. I think like people are just becoming hardened, man, and so.
Well, because they've all of the trust in the institutions is being eroded away.
No, it is.
Because they're not trustworthy anymore. Because they're not working for the will of the people. Not even the institutions that are supposed to be working for the will of the people, like unions and shit. Like some of those things, you know, some of the unions are not doing their jobs and haven't been for decades. They've been just useless fat appendage.
And you know why?
Because they haven't had to.
No, there's another reason. I know
why.
They're devil worshippers. Satan.
Probably. I mean, you know,
they're all devil worshippers. Right?
There is a lot of money coming their way that
for sure. No, people
mysteriously disappears, and you know, virgins are expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So that right there is the famous 1988 Phobos incident right there. So, all in a nutshell.
What you're telling me is, what you're telling me is there's this huge obelisk on Phobos.
Yep.
Look, man, you know what we should do? I want someone to prove it wrong. I want someone to go there. I really do. I want them. The only way we'll know is if we actually go there and have something set foot on the planet.
We're not allowed, man.
We should keep trying, because if we can't get there, then that's a problem too,
right? So my flat earthers on here are going to come at me in a second, right? My flat earthers are going to say, this is all a lie. You can't get past the firmament. I'm going to say, okay, let's pretend that the military has an equation that they teach snipers, and that equation has to do with a little bit of the curvature of the earth, right?
I don't even want to entertain the whole flat earth thing.
So yes, there might be a firmament, but maybe it's the firmament is larger than the earth, right? And so,
in all honesty, I want to talk to someone who is a true believer and understand their point.
No, you don't. I can get us one. I can get us one.
I just want to understand. I want to crawl in there, and I want to understand where they're coming from, because I need to understand the logic behind it.
I'm going to get us
there's got to be some kind of. I know. Like, I've seen the pictures and stuff. But that doesn't give me.
It's all biblical based, man.
Brain.
So a flat earther theory sprung up from a scripture where it says God laid the foundation of the cornerstone of the earth, and then put a firmament over it, where He separated the waters from the heaven and above and all this other stuff, right? That's an impenetrable thing. So that's the firmament, right, that they talk about. And they in the cornerstone, what they want to talk. So they think that a cornerstone has to be a flat building, right? A cornerstone of the earth, right? That comes across. So that's where the flat earth thing comes from. And then if you go and look, they'll pull up some old pictures, maps, you know, whatever, saying that this is how. And then they'll use the Simpson episode. So look, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell them a story here too, man. There's a Simpson episode where they put a dome over it or whatever, and they'll try to say that's them telling us. I've actually, did I tell you the story? I've flown around. I've lapped the earth, y'all.
Dude. Yeah, me too. I've flown so high that I've actually seen the curve of the earth. So like,
no, I mean like literally.
I don't even.
I was in Diego Garcia, and I took off from Diego Garcia, and we headed north to Singapore, and then from Singapore we flew east to Japan, from Japan to LA, from LA to Philly, from Philly to Germany, from Germany to, I want to say, one more stop in Italy. Then we flew from Italy to Bahrain, then I flew from Bahrain back down to Singapore, and Singapore back down to Diego. So I went west, I went east the whole time. Saw the sun come up twice, and then 32 hours later, I was back in Diego Garcia. The Earth's not flat, yo.
Why? 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 What was that?
Oh man, there was some shit went down, man, and we had the freaking. It's like, so for a fun fact, if you've never been to Diego Garcia before, it has the tertiary landing strip for the space shuttles at the time, right? It has a runway that's so long. If you can't land a plane on Diego Garcia, and I've actually seen planes run off the edge into the water, true story. There's something wrong with you, right? Like, and so
yeah, not a very good pilot for sure.
So I was in there, and then something happened, and then all hands on deck situation. We had to jump on a plane and make some stops along the way. I'll tell you offline, man. And then freaking, there was
stuff happen.
Had to whip it, man. So basically, I think the flight was.
It was a long flight, man. That is a long
flight.
Oh
man, it was miserable, dude. It was miserable.
I can't even imagine.
It was miserable, man.
I would have exploded. I'd have popped like a tick.
I got a watch.
I could not be so long.
They gave me a watch. Huh? I got a watch.
Oh, you got a watch.
I got a watch. Well, I circumnavigated the globe, and the Zoomies gave me. I was on an Air Force plane. The Zoomies gave me a watch as a congratulations to something. I guess that's awesome. one of the things they do, and I still have it. But
they give you They used to give you watches. Now they just give you coins.
Okay, coins. Yeah, so little coins. Yeah. So, anyways, y'all. I can't, and I've also too. I don't want to get too technical, but I've actually adjusted satellites based on the curvature of the Earth to pick. So you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that
the theory of how we used to do stuff that we used to do wouldn't work if the Earth was flat.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't. It's not flat.
It's not happening. Sorry, Phil. Sorry, not there.
Sorry.
Nope. Can't.
But anyways, so yeah, that's it, man. But I do think that something evil is always working against us. I think that they're not allowed to touch us. I agree. And I think that we're coming into. I don't like using the term like the age of enlightenment, right? But I do think that look, man. I do feel different.
We were talking about this before. I think it's more of like an age of like before we were learning about the world, right? Like very kind of primitive, just absorbing information for so long and so long and so long. And then now we're starting to apply that information, right? So this is more like I think of, and see, I love the Mayan calendar, right? Because it's a 6,000 year cycle. But 2012, right? December 21st, 2012, I think was the beginning. And whether you want to pick that date or not, it doesn't matter, but it's as good a date as any. It was the transition from the age of innocence into the age of understanding, right? Like just like a child, right? Like a toddler. We're in our adolescence now as humanity. We're trying things, and they're not always working. It's rocky. It's rough. It's like middle school, man. Yeah. We're gonna be ugly for a little while.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing though, man. And then I do think
it is.
I will say this though, man. Like I don't know if I told you or not. Like I feel different for some reason. After the eclipse, I went outside, looked at the eclipse with my glasses, but not my glasses. And then, coming up on 2 weeks now.
You're looking for them permanent crosshairs, huh?
Yeah, and I said to myself, like, I feel like a weight has been taken off of me, but I did not even know that there was a weight on me. That's the only words that I can have to describe the feeling. I don't have the vocabulary to articulate the feeling that I have, but. So, something's going on.
Rising tide.
That's it, man. That's it. Boom. All right. So, Jay, Phobos.
Yeah.
Anunnaki? Yes or no?
Man, I want somebody to prove that it's not. I want us to go there so we can know for certain. But, yeah. It's it's very odd for a natural formation.
100%, right? I gotta go that way. I gotta lean heavily into that didn't occur by itself. Whatever's going on up there's some fiduciary going on up there, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's weird.
I gotta go with it. Gotta go with it. Well, all right. So, anyways, if you stuck around this long, you're our type of loser. So take your finger.
Yeah.
Smash that subscribe button. We have us 1,090 subscribers, and we have us about 22 channel helpers now. Much appreciated for our channel helpers there. With all the advice I get, all hitting us up. Yeah. We love you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
sticking around. And that's it. Jay, you got anything else?
Nope. Just keep safe,
Keep safe.
stay well, and believe in the better future, right?
Don't play with Ouija boards or Hadron Colliders.
Don't play with Patriot boards.
And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.